chalice today in honor of International Women's Day. International Women's Day was organized as a protest of women's conditions as far back as 1909. As commemoration, I invite you to join me this morning to rededicate this beautiful piece of embroidery titled "Each Stitch, 1,000 Prayers of Hope." Normally, it resides on the wall outside the classrooms at the side entrance. For context, First Parish's Women's Alliance felt driven to action as a response to 9/11. The subsequent media coverage brought to light awareness of the inhumane treatment of women in Afghanistan. This piece was made by a collective of Afghan women refugees who were living in exile in Pakistan. It was acquired at the Feminist Expo at the World Bazaar there, where women's work from around the world was featured. The Feminist Expo featured powerful feminists and feminist organizations who spoke about the challenges women face in our lives. We heard from Gloria Steinem, from Maxine Waters, Eleanor Smeal, Eve Ensler, to name just a few that weekend. One of the highlights of the Feminist Expo was hearing from two women who'd arrived in our country spirited out only 24 hours before they were on the podium to speak. Through the work of the National Organization for Women, they were smuggled out of Afghanistan, where they were targeted for punishment because of their gender. I woke Thursday, International Women's Day, to a TED Talk in my inbox titled, "To Solve the World's Biggest Problems, Invest in Women and Girls." The speaker was Musimbi Kenroyo. Musimbi Kenroyo is the CEO of the Global Fund for Women. She's from the Maragoli tribe in Kenya. In her talk, she introduces us to the Maragoli concept. Her tribe is the Maragoli. The Maragoli concept of Isirika. Isirika is spelled I-S-I-R-I-K-A, to appreciate the word. She explains Isirika is a pragmatic way of life that embraces the mutual responsibility to care for one another, something she sees women practicing all over the world. And she calls for those who have more to give more to people working to improve their communities. Sounds a lot like the UU principles. Back to context. As a way of processing the impact of the events of 9/11, in solidarity, our church's Women's Alliance opened our church to all for a conference we named Women Fest. People who wish to promote their professions, hobbies, crafts, passions, or politics were welcome. We had displays, panel discussions, performances, and delicious food. There were 45 tables of exhibitors. Relationships were forged, kindnesses exchanged, support given. Donations that day were given to our local Habitat affiliate, Isirika. During that process, we acquired Each Stitch, 1,000 Prayers of Hope. We dedicated that during an International Women's Day service right here 15 years ago. It says on the plaque at the bottom, "In support of Afghan women's resurrection from the Taliban-enforced gender apartheid." In some parts of Asia, there's a belief that people who are destined to be together are connected by an invisible red thread. When they are connected, it's because they have something to learn from each other. By rededicating Each Stitch, 1,000 Prayers of Hope today, we're acknowledging women's history, persistence, and the power of Isirika. And since this is an embroidery, and you now understand its origin, I hope you'll let these threads of hope connect you to us and the world in the same way the red thread connects. The Me Too, the Enough movements, the March for Women's Lives, the local organization that is taking place in our communities now are all historic inflections that for me are Isirika at work. It brings me hope. I light our chalice this morning with the hope that you too feel that you're one of the threads that bind us all as we all persist.
Let's sing together Spirit of Life. We sing it first in Spanish.